Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota Podcast. This is your weekly cricketing podcast show. My name is Mpho and Tim. I've got Tim Lace here with me, and we talk all things South African cricket. We've been doing this for over 3 years now. It's been really awesome. We just churn out podcast after podcast. And the thing is, for you to find us, you can find us on Full Quota Pod on X. Yeah, that's how you do it. X, yeah. And also at One World Sports Radio's YouTube channel. Please do subscribe there as well to let you know when we go live. Also, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, please do follow us there at Full Quarter Podcast. Just search for Full Quarter Podcast. You will find us. The logo's in the corner. That's the logo you'll see. And then you can also join that community. We were building two communities. We're getting growth on both sides, which is really awesome, and really, really thankful to you for that and all your comments. Also, obviously, the last episode we had was Gordon Parsons one where he won the Division 2 with Limpopo, and we had a bit of a few gremlins, but I think we got a really good one out of it. We got a lot more from that from Gordon and what he thought about his team, which is truly, truly important. Okay, this week, as always, it's a Monday episode, which means that we'll be talking about everything that's happened in the week and covering all the big news stories. But obviously, it is CSA T20 season, so we'll also be talking through that, and that'll be the bulk of our show. But before we do anything else, to the man in the Western Cape whose team seems to be losing everything. All right, now, Tim, how are you doing?
Yeah, despite despite the team having a very poor season, all good, mate. I'm looking forward from their perspective. I'm looking forward to their season coming to an end because I
Look, it
need
hasn't been a
to.
bad season though, so
No,
that's
it's been
something
a
that
good.
we can.
It's been a good season, a bad tournament. That's the where they're
Yeah.
at. Mm.
And to a certain extent, that's a couple of teams in the CSA T20. Okay, so the first segment of our show is what's happened this week. The biggest thing that's happened this week in South African cricket is the Sri Lanka Women's Tour of South Africa. They're playing the Proteas women in 3 ODIs. The first game got rained out in East London with Tasman Brits having scored a brilliant 116. Marizan Cup contributed with some runs there. They ended up with 270 in that game. And then it got rained out, so no, there was no win there. But then in the second game, between the two teams, that game was in Kimberley, and yeah, there wouldn't be a lot of rain there. Sri Lanka women scored 229. You had Shamari Atapatu scoring 51, Kavisha Dohara scoring 42, and then the South African women in Ayabonga Kaka took 3 wickets, Nadine de Klerk took 3 wickets, 3 for 23, and Nonkululeko Mlaba took 2 for 40. In reply, Laura Wolfart, who seemingly loves captaining Tim, she scored 110 off 141 balls, and Marizan Cup 77 off 84. Tasman Brits didn't play in that game. Laura Goodall played in that game, so we're seeing a little bit of rotation from the Proteas women, but good win for them. You kind of expected that when you went to the longer format of the game, that the Sri Lankan team would fight a little bit harder. And you can see that even though they are putting up some really good scores, 229 is still a competitive score. But you can see the class of Laura Marizan and to a certain extent Tasman Brits, who've been the standout batters for this team over the last 2 years so far.
Yeah. Just a slight thing there. Tasman Brits got injured in the first game, and her season is unfortunately had to come to
Oh
an
yes,
end.
yes,
She's
yes, I
having
remember that. Yeah.
surgery. I think tomorrow. I think. So hopefully she'll be back with a quick recovery, because she has been in really good form for the Proteas. Yeah, look, it's been the usual suspects in terms of the 50-over competition. I think the bowlers in general did quite well, but in terms of the batting, it was the usual suspects. It was the Marizan, Laura show, and and it goes back to our major concerns of the team as a whole. But as you say, in the longer format, they do seem to be a little bit better in the longer format at the moment,
Mm.
um, particularly in the bowling department. The bowling department now looks a little bit more varied than it has in recent times, with marks coming in. It doesn't look quite as samey as it has been in the last 6 months
Mm.
or so, which is a plus, I suppose.
The good thing is we're getting a lot more spinners now, right? Instead of just the the thingy, the middle,
Medium
the
paces, yeah,
medium pace bowlers. Yeah, so
yeah.
that's the good thing there. Especially with Mlaba coming through as well. Um, and then the other thing that happened this week that we need to talk about is the Dolphins winning the CSA Women's One Day Cup. Um, the obviously Western Province won the T20 tournament, which was wrapped up last week. This was the end of the women's professional season, and the Dolphins won. They played the Lions, and they managed to hold on to the top spot. So congratulations to the Dolphins there. And then another big topic is Darren Dupavilon signing for Derbyshire. He'll be joining them for the county cricket season, which I think will be great for him. I think South African bowlers going to England get one thing, especially if you're a pacier bowler, you're going to get quite a lot of wickets. You're going to enjoy bowling on those decks. But the question, obviously, for Darren is what does this actually mean for his career?
I think it's a great move for him. I actually thought with the quality of pace bowlers in the country, I actually thought for this sort of move, the time had passed for him. A couple of seasons ago, just before COVID times, I would have thought that would have been the ideal time because he was getting picked for the Proteas. Um, but I'm really glad that this has worked out for him. That this I know that Derbyshire had been looking for a pace bowler
Mm,
after they had to lose out to Mohammed Amir, who will be playing for Pakistan. So they were basically looking around trying to find a replacement, and they've got a really good replacement, in my opinion. Has had a really good season this season after coming back from injury, so I'm delighted for him. The Derbyshire wickets will be a little on the flat side, so that will
mm-hmm.
be a challenge. It won't be his normal Durban pitch where the ball swings all over the place. But I'm delighted for him. It's a great opportunity for him to continue his progression. He's still relatively young as a fast bowler,
Yeah.
so I hope he does well.
Yes, no, we hope so too, and wish him all the best in England, especially obviously Oatmeal Bartman's coming through in the Dolphins, or is coming through in the Dolphins, and so a little bit more skills, a little bit more something different and learning in a different part of the world could possibly do him a whole lot of good. I kind of felt sorry for him because I kind of felt in the fast bowler conveyor belt that we've had over the past couple of years, he seemingly was the one who kept on getting left out, especially because he was always injured at the time when a new fast bowler was coming into was given an opportunity. So hopefully this will give his career a much needed boost and he can come back a much better. Well, he's already a good bowler. I just feel as though it hasn't just come through the season for the Dolphins, which has been disappointing. And yeah, we just want to him to get back to those levels of a couple of years ago, where he was competing for the top wicket taker in the competitions across all the formats. Okay, Tim, that is everything that's happened this week. The other big thing, obviously, is the CSA T20. So let's go into that. Let's go into some of the results. For this week it was a massive week. We had 8 games this week. We started with the Dolphins taking on the Titans. The Dolphins beating the Titans in Pretoria. Well, the Titans are duck with Lewis and Durban by 3 runs. David Visa took 5 wickets for 29. Pelin Subrayan took 2 for 17. John Smuts, as always, coming through into the reckoning, 2 for 15, and Othniel Bartman 1 for 18. Tim, that was just a bowler's paradise in that game. Low scorer, as what you would expect in Durban. and the Dolphins managing to get through on the Titans on that one.
Yeah, I said last week that the Dolphins were coming together at the right time for this competition. They are playing really good cricket, and despite having lost Bryce Parsons, it doesn't seem to have affected them. Uh, they are getting wickets. They're performing well. They're playing as a team. If you look at those performances throughout the week, it's a team performance. So they're playing some really good cricket at the moment. That's a big win. Even with a, a rain affected game, that's a huge win for them.
Yes, it's a big win and a huge win for them. On the other side, next game was the Warriors taking on the Tuskers. Top of the log Warriors, after losing their unbeaten run, had to come back strong, and they managed to do that. They beat the Warriors, beat the Tuskers by 31 runs. That was a pretty much an easy game on Friday. Matthew Bredsky scoring 72 of 41. Cortland Manicum of the Tuskers taking 2 for 26. Cameron Delport 29 of 17 in the reply, but it wasn't enough as Neelan Van Heerden took 3 for 31. Another easy win for the Warriors against the Tusker side that every day keeps on letting us know that they don't. It feels like they don't belong up here in Division
They
One.
just don't have enough. That's
Yes,
the
that's much
reality.
better.
They don't have enough. They have a couple of really good players like Cameron Delport and Keith Dudgeon, who've been really good in this competition. But outside of that, where they need um, other people to chip in, they're just not able to at the
Mm.
moment, and they are really struggling. Just on a side note, technically they can still stay in Division One, which is absolutely wild.
Yes, they need to win all
Um,
their games, and the
yeah,
one game they need to win is the one against the Rocks,
so exactly. So they've got 3 games. They need to win all those games. I
and
think
Hope
they need to win.
Northwest.
Yeah, I think they need
Yeah.
to win 2 of those games by bonus points. I don't think it's
Mm.
just. I don't think it's just a win. It's got to win by. So, but my point is, they've been really poor, but they can still, with 3 games left, still qualify, um, which is quite credible.
Yeah, it's just creating a little bit of urgency at the back end of the season. The team that they would be kicking down into Division Two, the Rocks, lost to the Titans by 6 wickets. Clyde Fontaine scoring 45 of 24. And David Visa coming up again 2 for 9. Lungingiti 2 for 19. Corbin Bosch 1 for 14 in that game. Titans winning by 6 wickets. Another disappointing game for the Rocks. Clyde Fontaine trying to paper over the cracks of a franchise that, quite frankly, in my mind, should also be going down with the Tuskers. I think this should be a two team relegation season based on the way that the Rocks have played along with the Tuskers.
That's an interesting discussion, and I think if we had the competition the way I see it potentially being, if everything goes to plan,
Mm-hmm.
so 3 4 years from now, when it's a lot more, everybody knows a lot more of what is needed, I'd 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 be okay with that. At the moment, I wouldn't.
Look, Tim,
It's not.
Tim, in my,
It's
in my head, send them both down. They've made,
yeah.
like,
I get it.
I'm sitting there going, every time I watch the Rocks, I
They're
I, I
poor.
question I question a lot about
Yeah.
A, team composition, B, their acquisition strategy. And like this week we heard that Jean Duplessis is a rumor. I don't know if it's true. When it's confirmed, it'll be true. That he's going to the Warriors. Um, if it is true, the Rocks, who gave him a debut in the 4-day series, could not come up with a package to help him, to get him in, especially with Sian Fansel going. You're sending him to the Warriors who've got enough batters to sort themselves out. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't understand what's going on there. And I know the people of Paul love their team, but if this season is anything to go by, they're probably going to get relegated next season if the Knights get their ducks in a row. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm advocating to bring up Limpopo, guys. Limpopo would have finished second if you did a whole combined log type of vibe. I'm advocating bringing Gordon Parsons to Division One and sending people to the slaughterhouse in Polokwane and watch guys cry and crumble and suffer. But anyway, that's just me. That's I don't make the rules. I just talk about them. Let's get through the other results. In there, the Dragons beat the Western Province in a thriller. I was commentating on that game on Friday night. Renat van Tonda 39 of 29. Carl Simmons 2 for 22. Some really good bowling from Western Province in that game. I think Bjorn Hendricks went for was it 8 runs in his first 2 overs. It was ridiculous. You thought maybe the Dragons didn't have enough, but they put down 155. And in response, Juan James scoring 29 of 17. Eddie Moore also scored a runnable, was it 35? Or was a runnable 49. And then was it Valentine Kidime finally breaking the shackles off as a youngster, trying to take his team deep. But the bowling of debutant, well, he's debuting for Northwest, Gideon Peters, 3 for 23. He was sensational. He bowled with so much pace. He was so quick. Um, it was a problem for all the other Western Province batters. Tim, I don't know what was going on in that game. If I told Carl Verena 155, he would have taken it. But it just was once Eddie and Tony DeZorzi get out and Carl gets out, everyone else obviously it's a young middle order, but they just struggled. They struggled to keep up with the run rate. They at every time they lost the wicket, it wasn't like they were behind the 8 ball, but having Kitime and Juan James still in there trying to get themselves to through in tough situations, you kind of got a glimpse that there's a lot of learning that these youngsters need to get, and maybe next season might be it for Western Province.
Yeah, I said this before a couple of weeks ago. It's why I wanted them to win the 4-day competition. If they won the 4-day competition, they would have had 2 trophies. They would have said, and it wouldn't have. This would have been a moment. It would have been a disappointment, but it wouldn't have hurt as much as I suspect it's hurting at the moment because of where the season has tended to crumble at the back end of the season. But like I said the problems. Batting was the problem. Bowling was not the problem, as was shown in this game. The bowlers stood up, they
Yeah.
defended it, they got it. They bowled really, really well, but bowled outstandingly. It's as you say, unless two maximum 3 guys score the runs, they're not going to score the runs.
There's too many
I,
guys in that team that you are doing what Gordon Parsons said last week, where you're trying to help them adapt to T20 cricket. It feels as though, and it's surprising because they're young, that they are unable to adapt to this aggressive style of scoring. John O'Bird is the one guy who actually is doing it. Juan James still needs to kind of get there. Valentine Kidime needs to get there. Eddie Moore is their top run scorer. Well done to him. He's having a good season, but it's still not at that T20 level that you want for an experienced player in the team. So too with Tony DeZorzi. Tony's just letting us know that he's kind of building up like a Dean Alga-esque persona now, that he can like do 4 days and he can do 50 overs, but T20s it can't happen. And it's surprising because he should have the shots in the book, and he was struggling against the ball that was coming across him. He was playing across the line. It just looked quite. It looked as though it was a team that didn't necessarily have that didn't understand what they were there to do. I understand if you're there
yeah,
to adapt and be aggressive. I'm okay with you being bowled out for 100. And we're like, yeah, no, fine. They're not T20 players. They just were aggressive. Here it was. They felt that the score was low enough for them to try and nudge and nurdle it. And that pitch wasn't one for you to nudge and nurdle. The moment you took pace off, it was hard to score. There was one very long boundary on the offside and on the one side, and it just was really problematic for them. And you kind of felt like they got stuck in the application, thinking that they just needed to be if they could finish batting out the 20 overs, they'd get there. My only worry is it's such an inexperienced middle order, and it's I don't know where you could look to find somebody in that middle order to bolster it up, because it isn't great, and you're reliant on Carl Vereen essentially. If Carl bats well, you win. If Carl doesn't, you
yeah,
you won't win.
yeah. The only positive that I would say is I believe in Sarek Nakadin. I believe he'll look at this and he'll come up with a solution. whatever that solution is, whether it's getting signing somebody from another province for this competition, whether it's changing the batting order. I believe him because
Yeah, but yeah.
he's been there and he's worked at the other formats where they faltered a couple of seasons ago when he first
Mm-hmm.
arrived, and he worked at it. He said, you know what, we need to do X, Y, Z, got it into
Mm.
place, sorted it out. He hasn't sorted this out, and but I do believe that he will be able to do that. Um,
So the other
I'm
one thing that he
surprised that
needs to be careful. Yes.
yeah, I'm
You
just
can, you
surprised that he didn't see it in the first place. Because when we did the preview for the show, I said to you they won't make the semi-finals unless there was a outstanding season from Kyle or John O'Bird. There was no way
mm.
they were going to make the semi-finals unless one of those two was going to have a magnificent tournament.
So my thing is, it looks to me that the Western Provinces kind of is trusting the youngsters, right? So you're backing these youngsters to come good. And the only problem about finding someone in the off season to come and bolster that middle order is what does that do to the development of Ekitime, who is 20 years old, John James, who's still 19, John O'Bird, who's 21, um, uh, anybody else coming up. You still had Abdallah Bayumi there as a youngster there who can come into that middle order, and even we haven't seen Mihlali Mpongwana here in this format as well. So that's the question I'm having as with that. That's the catch 22 is do you want to go with the experience, or do you want to just roll with the youngsters and hope they get through? They'll have learned valuable lessons in Potchefstroom, because they did try chase it down. They needed 15 off the last over. They just met Kerwin Mangru, who I don't think they probably have batted against Kerwin Mangru before. Kitime probably at the at in Paul last season. But for me, you kind of saw that Kern Mangru beat them with his experience. And had they been in these situations a lot more, they could have gotten over the line, because they did in the previous overs. They tried to get them back because they needed like 13 runs of per over, and they tried to fight back. There were lusty blows, and you're sitting there with there's something. But the question obviously is, do you want to accelerate it by bringing an older person or an experienced person, or do you want to just back the youngsters and say, this is what we're doing and we're going to live on this hill? You really won the one-day cup with them, so that's a great tick. You came second in the 4-day series, and so yeah, it just doesn't look good now, because this is the only tournament that's on, and the deficiencies are just glaring to see, and it's just it looks like it's inexperience over and above anything, because it definitely isn't. Well, they don't have that. Well, those guys haven't played enough games for us to say they're out of form. So, and that's just like T20 games in general, because we don't know
Yeah.
who their T20 selves are, and that's a weird thing about where province is in right now. But yeah, let's see how it goes until the end of the season. Um, and then they came back again on Sunday in at Newlands, and yeah, they got bowled out for 96.
Well,
And
it's
the Dolphins won by 8
probably
wickets.
yeah. What happened against the Northwest, I would suggest, affected them in this game. That's what I would suggest. That what you talked about, that inexperience has then crept in. They thought maybe they should have won that last game,
Mm.
but obviously you look at that scoreline and you think, what on earth happened? Obviously,
No, I know what happened. It's just the Northwest doesn't have a great, it's just not, doesn't have better bowlers than the Dolphins, it seems. Predlin Subrian, 3 for 18. Similani, 3 for 12. 2 for 11, John Smats. This is death by slow bowling. They can't pick the slow ball. It's a struggle. It's it's one of the weirdest things, because you've got like one of the best exponents of the slow ball bowling in Bjorn Hendricks. You've got incredible spinners in George Linder and Carl Simmons. And that's a very underrated bowling lineup from Western Province. But I'm looking at the batters on some. Are you guys bowling against club cricket? Are you batting against club cricketers in the nets? Because that's my thing, right? I'm sitting there going, okay, he didn't see the slow ball. He missed this line. He missed that, and I don't know. Maybe it's a question of maybe, and that's maybe why Cameron Delport has a job. Like I said, you're going, yeah, maybe that's why he has a job. It's It's like if you drop Cameron Duckworth into this team, maybe they do better. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I think so. But then you just say it's a catch-22. You're
mm,
taking the place of a young up
I
and
know.
coming
Listen,
talent.
Tim,
Yeah, but
Tim,
that's
listen.
that's
This is what you do. This is what you do. You go get either one of Luandre Pretorius or Steve Stock. I think Steve Stock might be the one who will be able to leave. Bring him up, bring him down to Cape Town, promise him the beach, promise him that lifestyle, and let Steve Stock open and let either one of Eddie Moore or Tony DeZorzi sit out. And let's see. Because I believe in a Steve Stock. Because we've seen it in the under 19s, right? He was and the thing with him is he's very aggressive. It's just him learning how to build. So then you can still go young,
mm.
and you won't be able to kill the opportunities for the guys in the middle order. But you're addressing something because yeah, it's it's a scary prospect there at Western Province in the T20. But it's fine. It's fine. Well done to the Dolphins on that win. It was a bonus point win as well, Tim. You're just giving away bonus points for fun. The team that the Western Province played on Friday came up to Johannesburg to play the Lions. They got bowled out for 85 and they lost by 10 wickets. Nabayomzi Peter having a sensational season 3 for 22. Vian Mulder also chipped in with 2 for 9. Zubair Hamza opening the batting 41 off of 28 and Connor Esterhazen 41 off of 28. Really good to see Connor getting an opportunity there for the Lions. Really great win there for them. Devastating win for Northwest and one that opens up a window for either the Tuskers to come back into to save themselves from relegation. And then the Tuskers then needing a win against the Titans, losing by 8 wickets as well. They scored 141, and they were all out, and the Titans got 142 for 2. David Visa 3 for 21, Dan Khalim 3 for 24. Lungin Gidi, welcome back, 2 for 12. Rivaldo Munsami, with this knock, he pushed himself all the way to the top of the run scorer. He's having an incredible season across the formats. Name a format, he's there in the runs. 90 not out for 41. He's proving to be one of the most exciting limited overs batters in the country. And yeah, really, really good to see that he's getting that opportunity there at the Titans. And then finally, the Warriors losing to the Rocks in a shock defeat. We were just like, what's going on? Matthew Britzker, 48 of 34. Sia Mahima, 2 for 21. Bear Swanepoel, 2 for 28. And Sia Simetu, 2 for 21. The Rocks managing to get to 128 for 5. And this was an incredible win for them that could go all the way in helping them stay up in Division 1. It was a big week for the Titans, big week for the Rocks, and a disappointing week for Western Province as well as the Warriors. The Warriors now, when we thought they secured a home final, now come to go to Gqeberha to host the Lions in a pretty much a winner gets a home final type of vibe a game, which we thought would have been wrapped up. Now there's like a 3-point gap between them, so it's going to be a very intriguing contest. But the Titans are now in the semi-final spot, even though they're not playing the best cricket, largely because of the mistakes of the others, Western Province. And the Dolphins are looking really good. They're also putting up their hand in a fight for a home semi-final or a home final, and that's why this week is going to be quite important. Any innings or any moment this week in the CSA T20 that stood out for you, Tim?
I think Peter. I think Peter right now could well be the find of the tournament. If his performances continue, he had a good game earlier in the season,
Mm-hmm.
and then he didn't play for a couple of games, and then he's come back couple of games, and he's seems to have cemented his place in the Lions team at the
Mm.
moment. Obviously, that depends on what pitch they play on. But I thought this week he had a really good performance. Not just the fact that he got those wickets, it's the way he bowled, his variety,
Mm.
his googly changes in pace, and typical South African fashion, they could not play him particularly well. Um, and he's still very very young, so he's still learning. For me, he was the find of the week, and certainly one to watch out for, particularly as you say, if the Lions keep progressing uh, right up to the final of the tournament.
Mm.
He certainly seems to be an important cog to the current line setup at the moment.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Gideon Peters. So you went Nabayomzi Peter. I'm going Gideon Peters. First T20 game for the Northwest. Bold gas was really quick. 3 for 23. Got some really important wickets, and he just troubled Western Province. And yes, you can say Western Province batting lineup, whatever it is, but he's a fast bowler that has Division 1 quality, and it's really impressive to see him at the thing. Because you would have thought that without Miguel Pretorius, Northwest wouldn't have been able to get through Western Province. But hey, they found that Gideon Peters was there, and he made a really incredible case for himself in that game. The fielding for Northwest was weird. Their ground fielding was horrible. They dropped catches, and they still found a way to win. It was their first win over Western Province in the new franchise system. So yeah, really good for them, and it was revenge for that CSA One Day Cup final that they lost. Okay, I'm gonna go to the table first, then we'll go to the fixtures. The the Dapperbet Warriors didn't felt like they didn't move. They're on 39 points, sitting at the top, 4 points away from the Lions, who have a better net run rate. So they have a game on Wednesday. These two that will probably determine who gets that inside track to a home final. You have the Dolphins in third place, 3 points away from the Lions. They you could say that these three have effectively secured a semi-final spot. And then the Titans sitting in fourth position on 27 points. They leapfrogged Western Province, and that's what it's going to be this week. It's just going to be Titans, Western Province, and they play each other as well. So it'll effectively be like a quarter final matchup, but 4 points away. The Auto Investment Northwest Dragons, they win. That effectively might they win one their first game in the week. That effectively might mean that the Tuskers get relegated out of Division 1. But the Tuskers still have their fate in their hand. They play the Rocks this week. They also play the Rocks this week, which is a game. It's an 8-pointer. You lose, they go 8 points away from you. You win, you go equal on points with the Rocks. But for the Tuskers, they need to get above the Northwest Dragons in order for them to survive relegation. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how that's going to go. So there's lots of battles. There's the battle for the top spot. There's battle for a semi-final, home semi-final, which is the Lions, the Warriors, and the Dolphins. There's also a battle for the fourth semi-final spot amongst the Titans, Western Province, and the Dragons as a dark horse. And also there's that relegation battle where we want to see if the Tuskers can find a way to get above the Dragons and try and keep themselves up in Division 1 for next year. The final fixtures of the CSA T20. We finally entered the final week of the South African cricket season, effectively an entire month after it was supposed to end. But anyway, we finally got here. First game is Tuskers versus Rocks. That has promotion and relegation implications. The Rocks win, the Tuskers get relegated. It's that simple. The Tuskers need to win all their games. So if the Tuskers win, they give themselves a lifeline, and then they have to win the rest of their games in order for them to keep themselves up in this competition. That will be in Paarl on Wednesday. And then the Warriors take on the Lions in that top of the table clash. Lions win, they go top, give themselves inside track to a home final here at the Wanderers. Or if the Warriors win, they effectively cement their spot as the home finalists for the CSA T20. Obviously, anything can happen. If you lose, the guy who comes second hosts the final. And then the Rocks play Western Province in a Cape Derby on Friday night in Paarl. Massive game. Rocks win, they get themselves promoted. They keep themselves up. Western Province win, they get closer to the Titans. The Titans also play the Lions. That game has many implications. Western Province will be wanting the Lions to win. The Titans will be wanting to cement their spot in the semi-final. And I'm assuming the Warriors would also want the Titans to win to kind of push the Lions away from a home final. The Dragons also take on the Tuskers in a KZN derby. That's also has relegation implications. The Tuskers need to beat their big brother in order for them to consider themselves staying up. Dolphins also looking for that number one spot, so they'll be hoping to get a bonus point win here. Then the Dragons on Friday night, closing out the full slate, take on the Warriors. Warriors will be hoping for a win to kind of open up a gap at the top, but the Dragons also want to fight for that semi-final, and this is the first chance that they do. Win here, you sit on 23 points. If the Rocks beat Western Province and the Lions beat the Titans, you're within a game of getting through, and you can sneak in through the back door if you are the Dragons. Lots of permutations, lots of help from friends. This is what we like. This is the end of the season. And then on Sunday, the final games of the season, the Tuskers take on the Lions at the Wanderers in what you would hope is not a repeat of that last time where the Tuskers beat the Lions early on. So the Lions will be looking for revenge, and a very big revenge at that, and trying to get a bonus point win. The Rocks play the Dragons. The Dragons obviously hoping to get that final semi-final spot. Will be hoping to get through this one unscathed. And depending on what happens between Western Province and the Titans, it could be a thing. I think the Dragons might require a no result in order for them to go through. But the Western Province and the Titans in effectively what you would call like a quarterfinal game. Winner probably goes through into the semifinals, and then the Warriors play the Dolphins in what could be a determiner of who gets to host a home final or even a home semifinal if the Dolphins win their games before they get to Quebec on Sunday. So massive big slate of games coming up. Tim, what are you looking forward to, and who are your final four semifinalists in order?
I'm hoping promotion relegation goes to the final game. I really hope it is. I don't think it will do, but I really hope it does. It'll be great for the competition if everything is on the line. Even if say that the Tuskers need a bonus point win in that final game that they play, it would be a great thing for the competition, even though they haven't been at their best in this division. My top four is not profits. My top four is the current top four. I don't know. Hey? I'm not. I think the Warriors might get pipped. I think you guys might pip them. I think there's a little chink in their armor. It's not noticeable exactly what's going on, but the games they're losing, they should not be losing. That's my takeaway from it. They are starting to rely too much on Matthew Brzezinski in the batting and Bayer Swanepoel in the bowling. If those two guys do not perform, they're starting to struggle a little bit, which is a bit concerning from their point of view. So I think Lions will pip the Warriors for home final, home semi rather. Province won't make it, and I'm hoping promotion relegation goes to the last possible game.
So you're having the Lions, Warriors in 2, Dolphins in 3, and Titans in 4, which means you've got
Correct.
Lions, Titans semi-final for everybody up here in the north, and then you've got a coastal derby of Warriors and the Dolphins, which could mean the Warriors don't even get anything out of this season, which would be horrible, horrible. And from a Liverpool and Arsenal fan after yesterday, it's horrible. That feeling, it just doesn't go. It hurts. Anyway, um, enough about soccer. But that's what it is, and I think it's a big week for the Rocks. Like not the Rocks, the Tuskers. The Tuskers. If there ever was anything in you to have a perfect week, to have a week where you give an extra 5%, an extra 10%, a week where you call Rassi Erasmus into your change room to kind of rile you up, to do it for the people of Peter Matsburg. May not know them, but they're there. This is your week. This is that week where you know that if you don't play well, chances are you're getting a pay cut next year, or you're leaving Peter Matsburg and going somewhere else. This is that week where, yes, the entire season you haven't done much. It's been tough. But this is that week where if you need to show up and be the perfect athlete, this is that week. It comes down to this. Relegation is not fun. Trust. Okay, I I don't know how it feels to be relegated, but I don't want to say trust me, but it's not a good feeling. You don't want to go back to Division Two. Limpopo is better. Mpumalanga can even beat you. Easterns will always be strong. Northern Cape's not going to allow you to pip them again. It's not going to be an easy comeback. So, if I was in that Tuskers organization, I am imploring every player to give 100% to get this team over the line. And it starts on Wednesday. That should be an easy win. The Rocks are not a better side than you. You start there and you build momentum and you keep going. Because if you take it down to Sunday, anything can happen on Sunday. Everyone plays at the same time. There could be a hat trick in an over that changes the complexion of your entire cricketing career. But all it needs is for you to put in that extra 5%, that extra 10%. That if you feel like you're tired, you need to keep going a little bit more because it's not enough. And that's what it is. But like Tuskers, there's all I can say because it'll be goodbye and we'll just be talking about you in Division 2 and teams are better down there. That's the thing. Teams play better down there. You don't want to go down into that abyss and be fighting with those teams down there trying to get up.
It's not like it was in the semi-pro days. It really isn't. We watch a lot of it. We speak a lot of the players. That Division 2 is very, very tough.
If Keith Badgen wanted to be player of the week, if Cameron Delport wants to be player of the week, this is the time for you to be player of the week. Scoring 50, scoring 100, keeping people in. Kagiso Rapulana, please. Jonty, come on, dog. Just for 1 week. Just for 1 week. And Mhletshwa. Guys, just for 1 week. Tando and Dean, come on. It's just 1 week. Because right now, it looks like you guys are just going through the motions. Show the world why you made it. Show the world why you deserve to be in Division 1. And this is that week. But anyway, enjoy all the games, everybody. Before we close off, Tim, do you have anything else to add?
No. Hopefully, I will have some news in terms of county cricket. But no, I have nothing in particular to add at this point.
Okay. Well done to whoever was doing the whole schedule at CSA. Titans Lions Friday night at Centurion. It should be a full packed house. And also Western Province and Titans on Sunday. At Newlands should also be a packed house. The CSA T20 can be done well with proper marketing. There's a lot of urgency right now because everyone has something to play for, and it would be nice that everyone else knew that that these teams had something to play for, so they could go and support their teams. The people in Peter Maritzburg, unfortunately, you can't watch your teams because your union decided to have to get that stadium banned, so you can support your teams on the Supersport YouTube channel and give them all the support they need. People in Paarl, please urge your team not to get relegated, even though I think they should get relegated. They just need one win. If they get that win, the Tuskers are done. Well, if they win on Wednesday, the Tuskers are done. So please go support your teams. Western Province, people in Cape Town, you don't like losing to the Bulls in rugby. You hate losing to the Titans in cricket, so please go support them. People in Johannesburg, let's make the drive down on Friday night and go support the Lions and go and rip the heart out of the Titans. And people in Pretoria, come and make sure that we don't do that as well. And then also the people on the coast, the Durbanites, the Dolphins are looking very good. They're looking sneaky good. Go watch them. They really are a good T20 side. And the Warriors need that. The people in Kabeja, they need that one last push. They're tiring. They're like a marathon runner at the end of a marathon. He's tiring out. The guys are behind him, chasing him hard. He doesn't have the legs, but he needs that jolt of energy. You could be that jolt of energy in Kabeja. Please, please, please go and support. and then go and do that. I think I've covered. Oh yes, the Batwako Botch, please. People from Potchefstroom, Friday night. That's what we do. It's going to be a party. You were there last Friday night against Western Province. You were there shouting and screaming every time everyone ran a two on that big field. You're a very knowledgeable crowd. Bring your friends. Let's make it a party. Last game of the season in Potchefstroom at JB Marks Oval. Come and do it. And yeah, I think I've done my bit for CSA, Tim. Yeah, tried to
I
rally
think
all
you
the eight
have.
teams. Yeah,
Yes, I think
cool.
that's yeah.
And
Just
by the
go
way,
watch. Go and watch the games.
the best atmosphere in South Africa is in Potch. So if you can drive to Potch and go watch that game on Friday night, final game of the season, you'll be entertained. Those guys know their cricket. But outside of that, for myself and Tim, it's goodbye. Enjoy the week's cricket. Supersport YouTube channel is where it's at. All the games will be there. Some games will be on Supersport, but most of them will be on the YouTube channel. So please go through there, subscribe, support, and let's get domestic cricket. Let's finish the season with a bang before we get to the semi-finals and finals. Those sort themselves out. But there's urgency now. There's drama involved. And there's also World Cup places that we'll be talking about probably next week. But let's see how the big boys do. Good luck to everyone involved, to all the 8 teams. Let's make it a great week of South African cricket, and hopefully we can get more sponsorships off the back of this. Outside of this, Tim and myself will say it's goodbye and lesale kakagis.